Welcome to today's explainer, everybody. So, have you ever stared at a block of professional code and just wondered, how on earth are they doing so much with barely any keystrokes? Well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to completely level up your code efficiency. We're talking about ditching that clunky, verbose syntax that just totally clutters up your screen. And we'll do it by mastering JavaScript math operator shorthands. But, we're not just going to stop at the basics. We're going to untangle one of the absolute most common head-scratching traps for developers, the huge, and I mean massive difference between prefix and postfix operators. Okay, so let's just dive right into this with a really clear mental model. Picture what we might call the clunky old way of updating a variable. You declare my var, and then when you want to add 5 to it, you literally have to spell it out for the JavaScript engine. You say, take my variable, make it equal to its current self, and then add 5. I mean, it works, sure, but it is so repetitive. Now compare that to the sleek one-step shorthand the pros use, my var plus equals 5. This simple little plus equals combo, it's a real game changer. It tells the engine to just grab the current value and slap the new number onto it in one fluid step. Way cleaner to read, right? And the cool thing is, this brilliantly illustrates a pattern that applies to all basic arithmetic in JavaScript. Let's take our variable on a quick little mathematical journey. Imagine we start out with a value of 15. If we use our addition shorthand, plus equals 5, boom, we instantly bump that up to 20. Need to subtract? Easy, just use minus equals 10, and our 20 drops straight down to 10. We can divide using slash equals 2, cutting our 10 in half to 5. And finally, we multiply with star equals 5, bringing the whole thing all the way back up to 25. Seeing them all grouped together like this, you can really see how this shorthand completely standardizes the way we manipulate numbers. It saves time, saves keystrokes, and honestly, it just keeps your logic crystal clear. But guess what? We can actually take this efficiency even further. What happens when we just want to count up? Because in programming, we constantly need to increase the value by exactly 1, right? Like keeping score, counting items, moving through a list, that sort of thing. Now, we could write myvar plus equals 1. That's perfectly valid, and it would take our current value of 25 right up to 26. But JavaScript is awesome and gives us an even faster level-up shortcut, the incremental operator. We can simply write myvar plus plus. Those two little plus signs are literally the ultimate one-step shortcut for adding exactly 1 to your variable. But here is where things get super fascinating. And honestly, this is where a lot of developers run into a totally frustrating bug. Let's say our variable is currently sitting at 26. We decide to run myvar plus plus again, totally expecting to see 27 pop up in our console. But when we hit enter, it prints out 26. Wait, what? No way. It bafflingly outputs the old number instead of the new one. Why in the world did it completely ignore our command to add 1? Or wait, did it? Prefix versus postfix. Why order changes everything. To solve this mystery, we really have to look closely at the core focus of today's explainer, which is how the exact placement of those two plus signs completely changes how the JavaScript engine reads your code. So let's break down exactly what just happened with that mystery bug. When we write myvar plus plus with the plus signs coming after the variable name, we're using what's called the postfix method. And postfix gives the engine a very strict sequence of events. It basically says, hey, give me the current value of this variable right now, use it for whatever command we're running, and then, only after you've done that, go ahead and add 1 to it behind the scenes. It prioritizes the current state over the math. And that is exactly why our console printed 26. The engine looked at the variable, saw the number 26, and immediately just printed it out. The value was shown to us before the variable was quietly upgraded in the background. Actually, scratch that. If we were to call that exact same variable again on the very next line of code, we would finally see the 27 we were originally expecting. The math definitely happened, it just happened out of sight after the result was already delivered to us. Now, let's look at the alternative, because it builds a completely different behavior. If we place the plus signs before the variable name, like plus plus myvar, we are using the prefix method. Since the engine reads left to right, it hits those plus signs first. This absolutely demands that the engine do the math immediately before it does anything else. It's like saying, stop right there, add 1 to this variable, and only once that's finished, give me the brand new result. Let's see that satisfying resolution in action. Remember how our variable was quietly updated to 27 in the background just a second ago? Well, if we now run a plus plus myvar, the engine stops
adds 1 to our 27 immediately, and proudly prints the correct, freshly updated value of 28 straight to the console. Absolutely no delays, no behind-the-scenes magic. It calculates first, then delivers the whole shebang. Okay, let's bring this mental model all together, because knowing when to use each style is really what separates beginners from professionals. With postfix, that's myvar++, you want to use this when you need the variable's current value on this exact line of code, but you want it incremented and ready for the next time you use it. On the flip side, with prefix ++myvar, you use this when the math is the absolute most important thing, and you need that freshly updated value immediately, right now, on this specific line. It entirely depends on what your logic demands at that exact millisecond.
And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. As our source material from the Net Ninja tutorial explicitly points out, the order does matter, and we'll get into these later on when we start looking at loops. This is such a vital real-world application. When you're building complex loops, like iterating through hundreds of pieces of user data or animating an object frame by frame, mixing up prefix and postfix is a prime culprit for the dreaded off-by-one bug. Literally, if your loop is behaving strangely, checking where you placed your plus signs is almost always the very first debugging step you should take. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a challenge. Think about the projects you're working on right now. How will prefix versus postfix execution order impact your next complex loop? Are you accidentally using the old value when you actually desperately need the new one? Understanding this subtle, tiny shift in syntax gives you absolute control over the timeline of your data. Dive into your code, experiment with the order, and just watch how it changes the entire behavior of your scripts. Thanks so much for learning with me today. Keep asking great questions, and I will see you in the next explainer.